The Opinion with Michael J. It's amazing how many people do not understand that Mark Carney has a plan. Pierre Poilievre has no plan. And you say, what? I say it unequivocally. And what we're putting here on the tables, you can see for yourself. You should be able to understand that a little more in depth. But you have to let go of your belief systems that have created the inability to look outside the box and look at things differently from the way you've been conscripted within the conservative think tank. So here we have the one man who can save the world economy from Trump with Ali Velshi. Was a Canadian, been in the States for a long time now. MSNBC anchor. Thomas Hartman had a radio show down in the States, still has it, over 25 years. Very knowledgeable on many factors that affect the United States, North America, and other areas. So this was done on April the 24th. I've broadcast some of it before, and we look at the description. Donald Trump is making enemies to the North, and one, Mark Carney, may be able to save Canada and the world from Trump's insane policies. And that's hard for people to wrap their head around because they're rabid Pierre Poilievre supporters, and they just buy into the far right-wing narrative, partisan narrative, and that's all that is. So let's watch this.
I'm reading I've only read this in a couple of places, and I saw kind of a glancing reference to it in the Financial Times a week or so ago, that Mark Carney, the current Prime Minister, or functioning Prime Minister of Canada, who was formerly the chairman of the equivalent of the Fed, both for the UK and Canada, the central banks. For
very unusual to be the head of two central banks. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, so this is a guy who is as expert as you can get about how bond markets work and how to screw other countries. That, you know, after he gave that speech in which he said this long-term relationship, this 200-year relationship between Canada and the United States is now gone. It's now ruptured. It's dead. That apparently he reached out to several European countries and Japan and said, collectively, we hold around $5 trillion in U.S. treasuries. Let's start dumping them. And it was that concerted effort to dump treasuries that caused Trump to freak out and back off on his tariffs. Have you seen any confirmation of that?
I've not seen confirmation of it. I've seen that reporting, and it makes a lot of sense, because if there's a leader in the world who can convince other central banks and other leaders about an economic way to push back against Donald Trump, it's Mark Carney. This guy knows more about how the global economy works than most people who run countries, number one. Number two, he's recently elected. He ran for the leadership of the Liberal Party, and he won. You'll remember before the election, Justin Trudeau was the Prime Minister of Canada. He was running depending on what polls you looked at, 20 to 25 points behind. There was no election at the time. 20 to 25 points behind a populist conservative leader. No way out of this. Justin Trudeau stepped down. Mark Carney wins the nomination. Now, Mark Carney is all the things you said he is. He's a great economist. He ran the Central Bank. That's not really sexy for people, right? He's the kind of guy you want if things are tough. Then Donald Trump comes into office, talks about annexing Canada, puts these tariffs on Canada. It's going to send Canada into a recession. And Mark Carney calls an election, which he had to do because he had been elected the leader of the party. He calls the election. He's probably going to win a majority. So his party was 20 to 25 points behind. Open voting just started yesterday, I think, early voting in Canada. Lineups to do this. And they are going to sweep the country, in my opinion, because Canadians have decided, after looking at Donald Trump and America, we don't want this nonsense. You keep your crazy. We don't want crazy politicians here. We don't want crazy politicians there. We would like normal people who can run an economy, because all around the world, people are concerned about the economy. Just run this thing properly and smoothly and quietly. I'm hoping Canada might be a message to the world.
So there you go, folks. That is my message for today. I'm going to leave you with that. that's important for you to understand that there's an election in tomorrow, one day. Everybody needs to vote. You need to get educated on what's important, what we need to protect Canada's sovereignty. You may get caught up on policy and debt, and I gotta remind you, since December 2019 to now, we've been dealing with an economic crisis and the aftershock of COVID-19. And because of COVID-19 and the capital expenditures by government budgets to keep people going, it caused more pain and suffering in the way of inflation. You could not get around it. People say, well, inflation's because of government spending. It's not as simple as that. But when you have government spending to support the citizens of a country, and because of a pandemic there's no GDP, no output, then you have inflation. Also, the supply chain around the world, all supply chains, have only started to recover within the past 6 months or so. They have not, and that has affected GDP as well. So, your vote is important. Some people are going to hold back on their vote because they're locked into I'm this party or that party, but your vote's important. You need to make your voice known. You're going to say, well, I vote, but my voice isn't known. Well, the thing is, yes, it was. The results of that election may have not turned out the way that you had wished for. That happens to everybody. But your vote was important. It makes what you need, your voice, out there to make a difference. Also, it wouldn't hurt to learn a little bit more about what goes on. Get to know your candidates in your area after the election to understand where they're coming from, how they're going to help you, and use that as a comparative. So anyway, I'm going to leave you all with that. So it's important that everybody votes. Take care, folks. Love and peace to everybody. Thanks for watching. Remember, stay safe.